on the widely expected cabinet reshuffle by President Cyril Ramaphosa tonight. We speak now to Business Unity South Africa CEO, Coovadia, on expectations from the world of business. What should President Cyril Ramaphosa's cabinet look like? Mr. Coovadia, thank you very much for your time. Let me not poison your mind. Tell us what your expectations are tonight.
Well, Cody, thank you for having me, and good morning to your viewers. We put out a statement quite a while ago. At the time the President announced that he will be having a cabinet reshuffle. It's been a while, but I think our statement does not change. We are certainly not commenting on who he should have in cabinet, but we are commenting on the caliber of the people he should have on cabinet. And there are a couple of points related to that. One, they must be intellectually inquisitive. They must have the confidence to surround themselves with expertise, and all decisions must be evidence-driven. Two, they must focus on policy as ministers should, but given where we are in the country, they must concentrate on implementation. And we want to see ministers and departments being accountable for implementation with clear implementation plans and timeframes. Ministers need to consult, but we shouldn't be getting into consultation paralysis and using consultation as a way of kicking the can down the road as far as decision making is concerned. I think we expect to see ministers who will consult with critical stakeholders, but if there is no agreement among stakeholders, then we'll take decisions.
Can I pick up?
We need certainty.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can I pick up on that word or that phrase you've just used, that ministers should not get into consultation paralysis? Is that what you believe has had the president bogged down in the last 2 weeks? Because this cabinet reshuffle was expected, might I say, from as early as immediately after the ANC conference, given the challenges that our country faces, particularly around electricity. Is that what you think has had the president really delay this cabinet reshuffle over consulting?
Well, I'm sure that's one of the reasons. I don't have access to inner discussions as to why the president has been delayed, but I'm sure that's one of the reasons. And we've seen this time and time again in a whole range of issues where attempts are made to get consensus across a range of stakeholders on everything, and you can't do that. Government needs to consult, but it needs to govern, and it needs to take decisions. It creates certainty. Certainly from a business point of view, that's what we're looking for. And so we're saying consult as you should, but don't allow consultation as an excuse to not take decisions. Take decisions, govern, and create certainty.
Yeah.
Then we're saying there's got to be credible and careful stakeholder communications. We also believe that we need ministers who understand the value of working in real partnership with business. Business has the skills and the capacity, as do other stakeholders. And we have a patriotic business community in this country. We've been trying to work with government for quite some time. Under some instances, we have managed to do so. But ministers must utilize capacity and resources wherever they are available in the country, be it in business, be it in the union movement, in NGOs, wherever, to actually bring to bear to assist government in doing what it should be doing. So those are some of the critical issues. And then we need a cabinet that's aligned behind the president's vision. We can't have different ministers saying different things about the same issues. And if they do, they must be called to account, and the president must ensure that he has an aligned cabinet behind his vision, so that we send out one message to investors and others, and not different messages coming from different ministers.
Mr. Coovadia, let me interrupt you once again. I have a strong suspicion that when you talk about ministers contradicting each other publicly, it probably has to do with our electricity situation. how Pravin Gordhan and Gwede Mantashe have conducted themselves has not been desirable, which leads me to the question around the electricity minister. How important is that person, given what you have just said, that you need people with credible skills in order to take the important work of governing forward?
Yeah, so we've expressed a view that we're not too sure why we need another minister. We have at least two ministers dealing with energy, one from a governance point of view, the other from a reporting point of view. And we believe that those two ministers, or whoever are those two ministers in a reshuffle cabinet, must do what their jobs are and must be held accountable for it. Yeah. To have another minister and then to try and work out roles and responsibilities, not between two ministries, but three ministries, is just creating more confusion in our view. But if the President, as he has indicated, is quite clear he wants to appoint a Minister of Electricity, that minister needs to be one fully behind the President's energy plan that business is working with him to implement, needs to be absolutely clear about the role of Eskom and how we sort that out, needs to be very, very committed to bringing in the necessary expertise, needs to move very, very quickly, and depending on what the roles are, but maybe work with the Minister of Public Enterprises to move very, very quickly to fill critical executive positions at Eskom, and begin to instill confidence amongst business, the public, and others that we are serious about dealing with the load shedding situation, that some urgent interventions can be made, not to get rid of load shedding. That's not going to happen until we get more renewables onto the grid, but to at least stabilize load shedding at lower stages of load shedding. And those are the sorts of things we would expect a Minister of Electricity to do. But that depends on what his or her role is going to be and how he or she is going to interact with the two ministers that already are in place.
I'm tempted to follow up with this question then, because you clearly have serious reservations about a third minister being added to this electricity situation. Will it shock you into disbelief if the President is doing this merely to manage politics at Luthuli House?
Well, I don't get shocked very easily nowadays because there's load shedding. So, no, look, I mean, we can't be blind to the fact that in the run-up to 2024 election, then politics obviously come into play. I don't know why the President wants to appoint a Minister of Electricity, but we hope that politics will not actually dictate rationality and the national and Trump national interest. He must act in the national interest as the President of this country.
Yeah. Final question to you, Coovadia. I don't want to hold you for long. I know you have another engagement. I wanted to add to this conversation the element around Transnet, because that's another important parastatal. And the mining industry has been at pains to point out that their profits are seriously being impacted upon because of the dysfunction that has been reported around Transnet. How do you think, or how much focus do you think should be targeted at Transnet?
Well, that's why in our statement we identified both the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Public Enterprises as critical ministries to look at. Transnet, even though it does not have the impact on ordinary citizens that load shedding does, is probably as critical a factor, if not more critical than Eskom. The impact that the breakdown in our entire logistics value chain is having on business is severe. We've tried to engage with Transnet. We have indicated to Transnet and government that business stands ready to provide capacity and resources. And Transnet needs to make create the environment for significantly greater private sector involvement in its operations. But it needs to do so properly and in consultation and partnership with the private sector. So it's a major one. So the Ministry of Transport will be a major, we'll be looking at that very carefully, and we would want to engage the new minister urgently to deal with the issues at Transnet and the logistics infrastructure in general, which is creating serious problems and reducing our competitiveness in ports and other areas.
Coovadia is CEO of Business Unity South Africa. Thank you very much for your time.